Before we get into this episode, I want to slow things down for a second. Every time my guest steps onto a paintball field, there's a very real risk that he could die. And I don't say that for shock value or for clickbait. I say that because it's the reality he lives with. He's had a heart failure, he's had a bypass, and now he has a defibrillator in his chest. Because of all of that, he wears a bulletproof vest when he's on the field creating content. And that's what's wild to me, is that he still chooses to step on the field. This conversation isn't really about paintball. It's about identity, it's about passion, and it's about what happens when the thing you love comes with real consequences. This one stuck with me long after we stopped recording. Let's get into it.
Photographer of the Year. Let's hear it for Dan Shelley, Shellda Photos.
Courage in my veins, running uphill, a wildfire heart that never stays still. I was born with a spark my daddy couldn't kill.
Benjamin Plouffe of FlyCanMedia, one of the top videographers in paintball in the world, and most recently up for the award Videographer of the Year at next season's Summit Awards. Man, it's an honor to have you on. I think you and I have shared the pro field for a little bit of time now, and I honestly didn't know who you were until I finally met you, I think, for the first time. It was in Dallas, and when I saw you, it looked like you were wearing, I don't know, like the paintball vest that a lot of kids wear because they're afraid to get shot. But what I found out from you is that's really a bulletproof vest. And that's where I want to start this podcast. Is the story that you told me about why you have to wear that is unreal. So welcome to the show. I would love to hear about that.
How are we doing, brother? Good morning. Thank you for having me. So, just to jump into it, when I was 22 years old, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I had a very horrible case of pneumonia that just really attacked my heart and affected it to the extreme. So, with dealing with that for years, I have a implanted cardiac pacemaker and defibrillator that keeps pretty much, it helps me stay alive if I have any cardiac arrest issues or moments. So within going into any kind of extreme sport consisting of little paintballs being shot at you over 300 FPS, you have to take some protection and want to stay alive. So I've developed many ways to protect the defibrillator over the span of going into my fourth year now back into the paintball community. I found the best way to protect myself was from the Vulcan. It's the airsoft plate carrier, but there's actually a real soft plate in there to help with the extra padding. So I've been wearing that for the past year now for doing media, and it's absolutely the best thing.
Wow. I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. Yeah, when you first heard that, like I think I was speechless, and I just had so many questions of, wait, what? Like you've got a system in your body that's keeping you alive, and you're out here and getting hit by a paintball could potentially hurt or kill you. And then you're like, yeah, but like it's all good. If something goes wrong, like the doctors get an alert and then they'll call me. It's like, can you talk about that part of it too? I think if I remember correctly, at the event, it was super hot, and like you also had to focus on keeping your body temperature at a certain point to not spike different levels too. Is that right?
Correct. So I have to every day take daily medication for the heart. When I have to prepare for these tournaments in the heat, like Dallas and Ohio, which was extremely difficult for me, worse than Cup last year, it's more of a challenge than I would expect it to be than at any of these local tournaments like WCPPL or at ASG, where the weather is nice and fresh out there in California. But yeah, it's a lot to think about sometimes, but never really hit me and impacted me as much as I do once I started explaining this to everybody. It's before, when people would see me get ready and throw the vest on and throw my shirt over it, I'd see these looks or even get a question like, "Hey, buddy, you kind of scared to get hit?" I'm like, "No, not really, but I do want to stay alive because I have a pacemaker in my chest." And it's funny just to see their eyes widen. Why are you here? What are you doing? Are you crazy? Just a little bit, but it's okay.
Hey, super quick. As many of you have may seen, BFPGear, Pro DNA, and Hormesis have all signed back on to sponsor the podcast for 2026. Now, season 1 was an epic year of deep conversations, lots of learning, and lots of people that have been touched by our conversations. I'm proud to partner with 3 of my favorite companies in paintball. Big things are ahead for 2026. It's going to be a wild ride, so stick around. Now, BFPGear just wrapped up the most insane holiday sale that I've ever seen. Okay, on to Pro DNA. So Pro DNA not only decided to sponsor the podcast, but they also wanted me to be their very first person to be part of their diamond sponsorship package. So if your team's looking to not only wear the best gear on and off the field, but to also help build a brand for your team, there's no other option than Pro DNA. So head over to infamouspaintball.com to learn more. You won't regret it. All right, back to the episode. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, right? Because I think right there, that's some life advice for a lot of people is we see something and we instantly put judgment on it, or we put some type of assumption on it. Oh, this person is afraid to get hit. And so when you said that, and when I heard that, it made me go, wow, like I assumed so much about, seeing you on the field and why you were wearing this, that just like that. I was assuming that you were afraid to get hit, not knowing that you were trying to protect your life to stay alive, literally. What has that been like for you? Because I think you said you got the pacemaker, was that 22 is when you had heart failure?
So I had the heart failure in August of 2012 when I was 22. I
2012.
had
Okay.
the
Wow.
pacemaker defibrillator implanted in January of 2023. So it's
Wow.
been almost 13 years now. They're going to replace it soon, which hopefully it will be after Cup of next year.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been a process. Never We don't expect things like this at such a young age, so it does change perception of life.
Yeah, tell me about that. Like, what has it changed for you? And then I eventually want to get to, after you talk about the change, like why the decision to step on the paintball field. But we'll get to that one.
For change, it really it makes you really step outside the box of not only caring about yourself, but caring about others around you, family friends, your close ones, the ones that, always check in on you, see how you're doing even after you're done dying in the hospital, and the ones that are just more repetitive with the friendship and with life in general. I still struggle till today. Uh, when I was younger, I didn't do so well in school. I always thought it was either like mental health condition that I probably didn't, or I didn't understand or see, or my parents didn't understand. They could just thought, hey, he has ADHD, and that's it. I didn't really do good in school, so turning into like partying, alcohol. I had older stepbrothers who somewhat had the same lifestyle, and that didn't help at all. So, kind of getting that into such a young age really had some effect to where I didn't want to either deal or tolerate with a lot of people in life. So after my heart failure, I really just stepped away from society and kind of just became a like hermit crab to focus on myself, focus on those around me who I actually want to see succeed in life. and be happy and successful, and just realize that all these precious moments that we have could be taken away at an instant. And we really just have to focus on overcoming our struggles and being there for one another and, moving forward in life because life is about movement and there's no reason for to be held back.
That's a beautiful answer. I think a lot of people from my experience and from what I've seen, they don't go through understanding how valuable life is until later on in their life, right? Because I think for the masses, people don't really lose, loved ones that are around them until, the natural age happens and they lose grandparents and parents, and you're usually a little bit older than that. And that's where it starts to kind of put some of that life into perspective. And so for that to happen for you at that age, um, I would love to figure out a way where we as like people or as a society could tap into that without having like a life altering event that rocks your world. Because I think you hear that from a lot of people that go through something similar that you did, whether it's heart failure, a traumatic car accident where they were about to die, or something, they lose a limb, whatever it is. Like, you often hear those people that are went through that changes their whole perspective on life. I wish we could find a way to do that for everybody, and not have to wait for like a traumatic event.
I say reading is the best thing. My real dad was a huge book enthusiast. I remember he had books from fiction all the way to politics to conspiracy theories. I never appreciated that
Mm.
until recently when I started reading for really the first time in my life. I'm like not being forced to in school or in academics.
Yeah.
It changes things. So maybe reading could be the successful goal with that one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was kind of it's interesting. Like, our journeys are similar in a way where, like, I was a terrible student, when I was in school, hated reading, would do anything I could to get around it. But now that I'm older and I don't have to read, I'm finding myself, I love it, and I enjoy it. And like, right now I'm reading I think three different books. And if you told me that as a kid, I would have been like, yeah, go pound sand. There's no way I'm reading one book, let alone three at once. Um, are there any books that you've read that stand out to you that have like helped you kind of see the world differently, or step into, I don't want to say a new version of you, but just have unlocked the worldview?
John Grisham, The Client, that was a book my stepdad read to me when I was little. And then the movie with Tommy Lee Jones and I believe it was Jamie Lee Curtis, um, that came out. And Tommy Lee Jones was one of my favorite actors, so it really
Yeah.
was one of my favorite movies growing up. But then going back to read the book, it really had me now, just what you mentioned earlier, we're so judgmental in life and how the story starts with this young kid and his little brother finding this guy who ends up murdering himself and everyone's just on this kid like saying you did it, and it's just is really the word I'm looking for. It's baffling to see how easy we are to judge at the very first instinct of meeting someone or hearing about a story. We automatically take one side and don't step back to see, okay, what's going on in this real picture.
Yeah.
Like human beings, we're just so energized to go, oh, right there, like the Spider-Man
Yeah.
little meme. But I'm almost done with the book. I think I have like five more chapters,
Yeah.
but it's It's good. It takes me forever to read a book now. It does, but I enjoy it. Enjoy the little things in life.
Yeah, it's reading is a powerful thing, and I've my YouTube feed has just been filled with the power of like books or the power of reading and journaling and like getting back to unplugging from kind of social media in a way and just letting your mind expand and grow, right? Because like I see it a lot where like if I'm on my phone a lot, maybe it's around an event or around like, podcast weeks where I'm doing a lot of prepping, a lot of research, that when I go to sit down to like read, like I almost get distracted. We're like, I can read a chapter and then like my brain starts to wander elsewhere. And it's a muscle, so the more that you do that, the longer stretches of like reading you can go and the longer stretches of journaling I can go now too. And so it's fascinating. Did you experience that when you, after like your surgery, when you said you were kind of became a hermit and like became more alone to focus on yourself? Like go into that part. Like what were the specific things that you did to really tap into who you are as a person?
So once I did kind of take myself away from society, I went back to school. I really wanted to get into public communications or I would say public relations for Disney at a time. I was a huge fan going to the park with my family, and I had friends that had passes. So, take all the advantage that you could get. And with me being disabled, we had the, I would say, the fast pass for disabled people, for disabled guests, and we got to go around and have that kind of experience of cutting the line. So I really wanted to work for Disney at a time. So I went back to school and just I went and had communications classes at one of the colleges local to my hometown. And then, just seeing how society was. Like I wasn't in school for a few years and then finally going back, and I would say a third of the class is my age and everyone else is just fresh out of high school. So time, the time and ignorance and just change of education and perception of everything, it made me realize that I needed to focus on a job or career that made me isolated from either bad ideas or habits that are just not going to be beneficial for my life and either personal wise or job career.
Yeah.
And I went back to I went back to making music and
Cool.
audio production. One thing that I really enjoyed when I was going to college after high school, I was a DJ and music producer, and I loved just the choreography of all these music videos that these DJs were releasing. And, after a while, just begging all these people, come to the paintball field, please, like, make these videos of like my buddies and I. A lot of people were just telling me, no, scared to get hit. I don't want my equipment to get ruined.
Yeah.
And then after studying just how to work a camera from, I got into photography. Well, kind of stepping back, I got into photography in 2018, and I really did not get into video until 2022 when I
Mm.
started flying drones and playing around with aerial effects like that. So it really wasn't until 2023 where I finally just said, okay, if no one else is going to take these video shots or make these videos, I'm just going to do it. So felt it felt natural, and it was very pleasing to see how many other people enjoyed the videos, and
Yeah.
not only just all like the people who I filmed or my friends in the videos. Like it makes me beyond grateful for what I do when I see people like Mario or Brandon Torrio, who's on LA Collision now. When I see his father so happy or anything with what I produce with Brandon, and it makes me happy knowing that father and family is proud of him.
Yeah.
When I see Cody Chong from Aftermath asking me to take a photo of him and his dad last year on Cup so they could have it and cherish it, that warms my heart knowing that that father is proud of his son. So it's kind of why I still go out there and do it, even though it might kill me one of these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's gosh, I wish we could like really tap into that because I've had a lot of people ask me the same thing. I was like, hey, why do you do this? Like, why do you risk your your camera gear? You know, why do you spend your own personal money to travel and to, you know, go do all of these adventures? And I think it's that right there. It's for one, there's the enjoyment of the creation of whatever the content is, whether it's photo or video. And then I think it's after you capture that moment, it's like you almost have a little high, like you have like an endorphin release of like, holy shit, I just captured this like insane moment. And then a few days later, when you're back home in your office editing, you get to relive that moment. And so it's another like release. And then when you finally get to deliver whatever the product is, whether it's a photo or a video, when you get to deliver it to the client or the team in this matter, you have another release. And so it's really a way where like you get to have it's a cheat code. You can have like this high or this endorphin release multiple times for like one moment. And it's just something special to that. And tying it back to what you said at our first interaction, and when I asked you, I was like, well, why are you doing this? And you're like, well, I love it. And I think probably like what everybody asks you, I said, well, aren't you afraid? And you're like, you know what? If this kills me, great. I'm going out doing what I love. And I think when you hear when you ask any top athlete in the world, you know, like in our sport, like the Marcelos, the Alex Goldmans, Ryan Greenspans, you know, in football, basketball, racing, whatever it is, a lot of people would say probably something similar to that. I was like, you know what? If I go out doing what I love, like sign me up for that. And it was just such a cool moment for me to be like, wow, this guy is so passionate about paintball and about creating content that you're literally risking your life doing it. And I don't think people realize that about you.
Ricky Bobby, what do I do with my hands? It's just, it's all for the game. Once you find once you find something that you love and enjoy in life, there's no stopping you. If
Yeah.
you let things happen, there's really nothing that can stop you or hold you back.
Yeah.
Death. But the only time I would say I've ever came close to my defibrillator or considering it going off it was in Ohio this year. It was against, oh, I want to say it was against Iron Man and X Factor because Shock was playing against, I don't know if they were playing against Diesel that match, but it was Iron Man and X Factor. I was filming X Factor behind the home line
Yeah.
and the back line, and I just felt this pain, and it hurt so bad that I would say, here's the defibrillator. It
Yeah.
was right here that I got shot And I remember it hit it. I felt the defibrillator like have so much like pressure and force. I just stood up like if I got like shocked and said, "Oh," and just immediately went off the field.
Wow.
It didn't have any reaction to it. The impact of the paintball and the defibrillator didn't go off. I was waiting for a call from my cardiologist within that moment, but there's no outcome effect from it. So that was my only scary part ever filming.
Wow. I mean, it's always like what are the odds, right? Like, what are the odds that one small paintball that's less than an inch, what are the odds of that hitting my camera lens? Or what are the odds of it, for all the guys, what are the odds of it hitting you in the nuts? It's like we always take that risk or that chance. But for you, what are the odds of it hitting literally right there, which is, it sounds like where the vest probably wasn't,
Just
like it
cut
just
off.
stopped. Yeah. Um, when you went through that, when you went off the field, was there any type of like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't do this anymore? Because it sounds like it was kind of like shocking you, literally.
It was more of shit. What am I missing on the field? that was more. That was more of my second reaction.
Yeah.
First reaction was, "Oh, you just got hit at the defibrillator. Get off the field." And
Yeah.
once I
Yeah.
noticed I was fine, it wasn't going to go off, I said, "Shit, get back on the field. You're missing it."
Yeah. Yeah. True content creator at heart. Does your cardiologist know that you do this, and like, have they said anything about it?
No.
So don't send this to him.
Um, it's funny. I'm pretty sure one of the people who do the echocardiograms have told him, "Hey, he has like welts all over his body. He's not getting abused. Like, I think he does paintball." With years of having to do the echocardiograms and pretty much stripped down to where they
Yeah.
see all of us, I'm pretty sure they've said something. With the first, for when I got back into playing competitive paintball, was in, I believe it was in 2021. Yes, first time actually ever stepping on a speedball field was the day of the first tournament. We It was an ASG tournament. I played from 2021 to the beginning of 2024. I had felt I was in the best shape of my life after my heart failure incident, and I went to my cardiologist appointment, and she said, "Your heart function has dropped 10% in the past 2 years. Whatever
Wow.
you're doing, please stop."
Did they think or say it was from paintball, like of just the adrenaline spikes?
It They really didn't disclose that information.
Sure.
I'm, with my knowledge, I'm assuming that it was too much fight or flight adrenaline mode on
Yeah.
my heart. Some
Yeah.
days, some days I would 100% feel that I overdid it
Yeah.
at like maybe practices or tournaments, and some days I would just go home and say, "Man, I need more. I need more paintball."
Yeah. Yeah.
But once that conclusion was made by the doctor, I went just straight into media. I remember calling one of my friends and telling him, "Dude, I can't play paintball no more. This is not happening. I'm just going to do media." And he's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, we'll find out what happens."
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because like those are sometimes defining moments in someone's life. Let's project out a few months, and this will obviously come out in 2025, but some people may see this episode in 2026. And who knows, maybe you're standing on stage in Tampa inside Raymond James Stadium at the Buck where the Buccaneers play, accepting an award for videographer of the year, right? And like that moment wouldn't have happened if you decided to, like, you know what, I'm not going to play and I'm going to pick up a camera. So like it's crazy how like some of these moments could tie together like throughout your life. What like, tell me about that. Like, if you are on stage and you win that award, like, what will that moment be like for you, knowing everything that you've been through in the past few years?
Oh, well, I think my first thoughts would be like, dude, breathe. You're fine. Don't have your defibrillator go off because you're so nervous right now.
Yeah, keep the heart rate down.
Yeah, I always get a little stage shy
Sure.
with anywhere. Um, I would say second, if that were to happen, I would, it would, I don't know what words to say for how amazing it would feel. It would be a great story to tell for any sort of inspiration to others, from dealing, like I said earlier, I dealt with struggle with alcohol. I've dealt with just trying to find out who and how Benjamin Plouffe is going to make purpose of his life.
Yeah.
And I would say, going out there on the field is worth it, taking that chance in life and not knowing what's going to happen. If it makes you happy, just keep going. You're going to hit struggles. Not every surfer can ride the wave that comes in, but eventually you'll get that confidence to get up on that board and ride that wave.
Yeah, surfing has always been a beautiful analogy, right? Because the waves always they keep coming, right? Some big, some small, and sometimes you can get on 10 waves and get knocked off. But finally, when you find the one and you get that confidence, then like you just see everything a lot differently. Um, you mentioned something there, and I want to ask you about it. And this isn't one that we've talked about previously, but you mentioned the purpose of life, and what is like your purpose of life now that you've been through this and you're looking at everything differently.
To be happy. I feel like a lot of people go through life and they're not happy. They either are just stuck in this tunnel vision of, I wouldn't know what word to say to call it, but I feel like people are just stuck in a tunnel vision of either work, careers jobs that they go to every single day and they're just mentally struggling, or relationships that they're in. It could be just things in life just not going the way they want, but being happy can alter your reality, and it can make you see things that are not always negative, but could be a good thing for a learning experience for you. Like we said with surfing, if this wave's not going to take you to where you're looking for that rush of endorphins from riding that perfect wave, there's always another beach. There's always another location for where the water is going to come in. People seem that, oh, this is where I am. I'm stuck. It's it's not always like that. There's more possibilities, and people just have to realize that if you consider your it, and it's not. I don't believe it's selfish. You have to be happy because a lot of people on their deathbeds, I wish I did this. I wish I did this. I wish I could do this. When my grandfather was dying, I asked him, did you want to change anything? Is there anything in life you wish you differently?
Yeah.
And it took him a while to answer. He sat there in silence for a minute and said, I love my life. I love my family. And that was really empowering because I've never saw my my grandfather mad or upset.
Yeah.
I've seen my whole entire family upset, but not him. He was happy. He loved being an attorney for over 65 plus years. My grandfather was an
Wow.
attorney until he had to go into the hospice. He was such an ignorant man, but he was such a hardworking man for his whole family.
Yeah.
But he was happy, and he loved doing what he did, and that was one of my biggest influences right there to just continue on. Because if you're not happy, it's just you're not going to live life, and you should really consider your happiness above a lot of things that people do.
Yeah, gosh, what a beautiful answer. That's such a loaded question when you could ask anybody like, "Hey, what is happiness?" And like people will just give you so many different avenues. Some people are materialistic and that's okay. Some people are experience based where they live for vacations and like traveling. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there was a book I had read. I think my mom passed away a few years ago, right after World Cup. And I don't know how I stumbled on it, but um, there was a hospice worker who wrote a book, and the book is about the last moments that people have before they pass away. And she obviously spent a lot of last moments with people, and just the different processes that people go through in those last moments, where some people, like your grandfather, were just so happy and joy and fulfilled and was proud of everything. She really tried to tie in of, if we can, and I kind of said this earlier, if we can tap into that mentality of like, hey, we don't have to wait until the final moments to be happy and to look back and enjoy things. If we can figure out that now, while we're living, to stay present and find what our true happiness is, that's the gold in the life. So when you finally get to that point, it was all worth it. So I think what you explained is it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, if going through heart failure and having a defibrillator wasn't already a hard life and a hard deck of cards to be dealt, um, when we were preparing for the show, you had opened up about some also really, really tough few years. And I'll just highlight a few things, and you can kind of pick where you want to go with this. But you said there was a period where you were homeless, you were struggling with alcohol and alcohol abuse. I think you mentioned you lost your brother a few years ago to suicide. Like, holy cow, man, that's a lot to go through. So, whatever path you want to go with that, I would love to hear your thoughts about that and how you were able to get through all of that.
So for a time period, I was going to school in Monterey, California. I had some issues with my parents, and they were funding pretty much everything for me living and going to school there. So once the funding was cut off, I thought to myself, instead of having to feel more of a failure than I already felt like I was, I didn't want to have to deal with, just all that, just the pressure and the reminiscence from like my family. So I stayed in Monterey, and with just tired of asking friends, hey, it's cool if I sleep on your couch. Like, it's only for a few nights, whatever. Stayed in my car. Thank God for junior colleges and their programs there. Like, people will probably wonder, well, was he stinky bum? Like, were you one of them? It's like, no, showered every day at the school, in the gym, in third locker room. It was fine. Got my exercise. Had friends that let, I had a friend that asked me, he's like, why do you want to sleep in my car? Like, why? I was like, bro, yeah, it's more legroom in there than my car. This is ridiculous. And they're like, well, dude, just, if you're tired of this, go home. I'm like, you're doing fine, but you're not happy. Go home. Like, this is a really struggle for you. Like, you have everything back in Southern California. Why deal with the struggle? And I guess it was just more of a natural learning experience that I wanted myself to deal with
Mm.
and to understand about appreciation and respect. And I think that's why I kept that lifestyle for the limited time that I did.
Sure.
I don't feel like a lot of people now would want to personally put that struggle on themselves just to learn about respect and appreciation. So it wasn't forever, but during that time, you know, a bottle of uh, King Cobra or whatever disgusting beer that I drank back then, that was easier than, or that was cheaper than getting food. So that's when I just started to develop the drinking. And then when I went back home, everything was fine, had a roof over my head. I still continued to drink and party. I I had an older brother who would we would go to these music festivals, and it would just it would be the time of my life. Like, hey, having a good time with my older brother. But in reality, when I look on it now, like, my older brother shouldn't have been taking me to that as a young age where my mind is still developing. And it's not something of guidance if you really want your family member to succeed in life and be successful. You teach them education and show them like a responsible and respectful lifestyle that, well, everyone should have. But you take the life and route that you go down, and that eventually, I would say, killed my brother, was alcohol and drugs, and that made his mind alter into what he thought was the best decision to escape out of it. It was very sad. I was in here. I was in Vegas at the time. I had just got done filming the brawlers for one of their practices for WCPPL, and I remember waking up, receiving a phone call from, it said something like public services officials, West Covina, and a number pop up. And I've never had this much information for caller ID on my cell phone.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it expected, but it was actually the detectives trying to find the next of kin to disclose the information.
Yeah.
So when I got back from doing the interviews that day that I had set up, I got the news, and I remember I was sitting here and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to think, and it's been rough. I miss my brother. He'd be so proud of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not doing it for my brother.
Yeah. Man, it's those are the conversations where, if that person was still here, right? Like, what would they think and what would they feel? And just to hear that you do it for him, it sounds like that's a huge motivating factor for you to, continue to step on the field and to continue to create. Um, that's really cool. I'm glad. One, thank you for sharing this, and it's cool to hear that like your brother is still living on through you, and you're overcoming all these obstacles and adversities thrown your way. And you're right. It sounds like he would be just insanely proud of you for, doing everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, he was one of those he's one of those guys who I would just call with whatever life experience that I've had. Like, brother, guess what? This just happened or this. And he would be so excited just to hear and be proud. I know my
Man,
other brothers are proud. I know my family's proud.
yeah. Which is great, because sometimes people don't hear those words. I think sometimes people go their whole entire life and they never hear that somebody's proud of them. So to hear that from your family and your other brother, and to also know that your brother who's no longer here would be proud too. Like it's got to be so fulfilling for you. Talk to me about some of the moments on the field. Like what are some moments that one you're proud of that you've captured, but that also that you think your brother would have been proud of too?
Ugh, One of one of the first moments that made me realize what I was doing was not only the most enjoyable job that I've ever perceived while being alive. It was Vegas NXL, uh, was it 2024? It was Vegas Brawlers winning the D2 division. And it was funny. My camera dies right before the last point. And I know their coach would have killed me if I told them this, but I didn't know what else to do. I knew this was going to be their last point. So I just pulled out my phone and hit record when they won the point, which won the match for them. That moment, just seeing all these young athletes and parents that were there enjoy this moment of success, that all their hard work that this local town did to get to that moment, and for it to be an NXL tournament, them winning the tournament, just it made me realize that just when I was in that moment of capturing it, I felt like I was finally in the right place
Yeah.
of where I needed to be. And then just the videos took off from there. Tried doing some, you know, styles of videos, but
Sure.
I just felt like it was just too repetitive. And one of my friends always told me, you got to have a secret sauce.
Yeah.
And you got to keep coming up with those secret sauces. So once you find your recipe, just perfect it. So, excuse me. After that, I would say another moment or special moment was my first tournament filming pro with Chicago Aftershock. It was them in Atlantic City of 2024. They made it all the way to the finals with Red Legion. It was the best experience that I've ever had as a media personnel. The first tournament on the pro field, the team that you're filming for makes it to the championships. ESPN is back
Yeah.
with Paintball. You catch yourself a few weeks after the tournament, you catch yourself, you're like, look, I made it on ESPN for a second. That's cool.
Yeah.
That was a great tournament to experience. And if a lot of people, they'll see me running around at the paintball field, face all red, full of sweat. They're like, is he dying? Is it today? Is he going down right now? And they ask, are you good? You need some water? To where now they just throw me the water in my chest and say, drink it right
Yeah.
now in front of me. um, but yeah, that Atlantic City tournament was one of the best moments where it reassured me, okay, what you're doing is working. Keep going. Keep believing in yourself
Yeah.
and see where this wave is going to take you.
Man, powerful. You know, it's when you when you had talked about your one of your most proudest moments being in Las Vegas and having your camera die, and then in that moment having to, I need to get my phone out and just record. Yeah, I think that's the theme of what I've heard from you throughout this episode is you have just faced so much adversity in your life and you've always found a way to like overcome it and learn from it and make you a better and stronger person from that. You know, I think that's a moment that would have crippled a lot of people in media and they would have tried to run off the field and find a battery. Like in that moment, you were able to adapt, learn, create some amazing content from it that now lives on and that team is probably forever grateful for. And now it's one of your proudest moments. So like what a cool way to tie that into now then stepping on the pro field with Aftershock and ESPN too.
There's, and there's always, like, even now, every day, every time I go out in the field, it's, I always enjoy it. Even if it's just for a practice, for some of the local people who I filmed for, who I started to film for, and to any of these big tournaments, just every day being there, it its purpose, it makes me happy. I know it makes other people happy,
Yeah.
and yeah, um, every day is a blessing to do paintball media. If anybody would ask, every day is a blessing.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I say this at almost every single event, and I try to tell all the guys in that media tent, be thankful that you're here because we never know when the last one is. You know, and not from a perspective of hey, something may happen to us and we may get into an accident, but just you never know. You know, like maybe ESPN buys the rights to paintball or something, and then they are doing their own media, and then we're all kind of locked out from it. So like I really try to instill that same mentality that you're talking about of enjoy this moment and live in it as much as you can because you never know.
Corporate America, baby.
It's a good tie in there. And Benjamin, this has been incredible, and thank you so much for opening up. You know, these are the type of episodes that I love having somebody that comes on and they're just willing to open up and tell their story because I've got listeners now, gosh, I think in 44, 45 different countries in the world. And so somebody's going to hear this and they're going to be able to relate to something that you went through, or maybe it's heart failure, maybe it's they just lost somebody, maybe it's alcohol abuse. Um, and to know that you're going to help inspire somebody either overcome something or step into a better version of themselves. That's why I'm so happy you came on and you were willing to share your story.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. I appreciate you having me on here. It's still a little mind blowing, but it's beyond grateful to be on here on your podcast.
Yeah, this was a good one. I don't know if you've seen any of the other episodes, but I always have a closing tradition, and it's an idea I took from a different podcast that I enjoy. But what we do is I'll ask every guest a question, and they get to leave a question for next week without knowing who the guest is. And so it's a really cool way to just tie in the paintball community, right? So like sometimes you'll have pros leaving questions for coaches or owners, or media leaving questions for pros, and vice versa. Um, and so I've got a question for you. And this one comes from one of, if not the greatest paintball player of all time. So no pressure. His question for you, and the reason why he asked this, uh, he said he used to do this a lot on Instagram where he would ask people this question, or he would see people in person and ask them this question. And so he wanted to leave it here. This is from Alex Goldman, of course, of Tampa Bay Damage. And he wants to know, what is your top 5 for players that you would rank? This is the first part of the episode that I've seen you like kind of crack a little bit.
Shit.
And this is usually the part of every episode where like you see guests like kind of tense up and they get nervous.
Um, top 5 players. See, this is where the answers are opening up either paths or closing doors with media opportunities.
You can put a disclaimer on it. It doesn't mean anything personal.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Top 5. With oof. We could do top 5 plus 2. Um oh, I would say top 5. Yeah, the boss man, Mouse himself, gets one for his performances.
He'll thank you.
Yeah, seeing him, yeah, seeing him live before watching him and then seeing him live in person, it's
unreal.
you can't,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you
something
can't,
yeah,
you can't, yeah,
I
you
wish we
can't
could
deny it.
capture that somehow because like seeing him on Go Sports and then seeing him in person on the field, it's a whole different level that like it just we haven't captured it very well yet, I don't think.
Yeah, no, no. There was a time where I was filming Aftershock and all of a sudden the point ends and I'm like, why? And I look to the right and Mouse is already down at their snake corner. Oh,
Yeah, it's
thanks,
a whole
Alex.
different level.
Thanks, buddy. Come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, he gets number 1. Number 2, I would say. Oh, number 2 is, I would say, Tyler Harmon.
Love it.
Tyler Harmon. His
Love it.
tactics, his work on and off the field. It's something in a player that they either stay with that momentum from the beginning to the end of their career, or they only stay with that momentum until they have so much spotlight they don't need that anymore to still be successful.
Yeah.
I think that Tyler really does go above and beyond with anything in paintball. But physicality, he's still, I think, number 2. He still has it.
Love that.
He would have had number 1, I believe, if Goldman didn't excel these past 2 years that he's been kicking ass with. Yeah. So, number 3, ooh, I feel like this part is going to take longer than the whole interview itself. Number 3, it's going to be, okay, from people who've I've personally watched and been there filming for while either other teams, people who I've filming, people who I've watched, I would say Rainey Stanzik is tied with Keith Brown. Those two are phenomenal. Those two are phenomenal players. Not only with their offense, but with their defense tactics. It's crazy to see these people just be like a multi-position person and just
Process.
they're on the snake, and I witnessed Rainey go from the snake to the Doritos. Where is this guy? And he wins the point. Amazing.
Yeah.
Other than that,
You You got 2 more spots, 4 and 5.
4 and 5. Oh man. I gotta give it 4 to Fedorov. I gotta give 4 to Fedorov.
Love that.
He's been one of those players who I've watched since I've gotten back into paintball. And when I was playing competitively, that was something, and he was one of the top people who like I would watch and learn things from. And I feel that his succession wouldn't still, oh, how do I word this? He's just an amazing player. I believe he still has it in him for a while. And
Especially
then,
this year, yeah.
yeah, I I didn't know where. I would say in Texas is when there was some talk about the Tauntauns having some issues, and that instantly thought in my head, I was like, oh crap, well, where's Fedorov going to go then if next year, if there's no more Tauntauns, or what's going to happen? And once the news went viral that he went to the Hurricanes, I believe that was one of the best moves that the Hurricanes did. Them being the team that they are, and shout out to Kyle Warner. Um, them having Fedorov now on their arsenal is going to be great to watch.
Yeah,
I
he's really good
I
for them.
told I told my buddies that I see Hurricanes getting top 6 this year.
Yeah.
Top 6. That's where I see them.
Could totally see it.
And 5th, everyone's probably saying, why haven't you said Marcelo, or who else? Why haven't you said, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone has their perceptions. Marcelo's a good player, obviously.
Yeah.
He has his own category on why he's a good player. If he doesn't retire until 50, then oh man. No, I see Marcelo playing until 55.
Yeah, totally. I can see it.
Uh top 5. I see this young player really making more of an impact than what he's already done with his paintball career. But Connor Kelly,
Okay.
Connor Kelly makes my top 5.
I like
Not
that.
only is he a phenomenal snake player, home Dorito player, he reads the field, knows how to be a phenomenal attacker, and have great paintball skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's other people
Sure.
who are on my top list, but yeah, with those, they, I feel like within the past 2 years have had great standings to make them my top.
Yeah, I love that. That's why it's such a good question, right? Because like everybody looks at it from a different lens, and they have different perceptions on it. So I appreciate you spending some time like really processing it and going through that.
That took over 10 minutes, people.
It's
Shit.
okay. It's okay. It's worth it.
The
Um,
hardest question right there.
I
Don't
know,
hate me.
right? Pressure's off now. You get to leave a question for next week's guest without knowing who it is.
Oof. I would ask whoever, I would hate to think this is more of a repetitive question. Everybody, I feel like, has it somewhat in their slogan or saying, like, we always need to grow the sport. It's obvious. We do need to grow the sport. More positive ways, more educational ways. You know, the sport is growing every year. I would ask this person, how are you taking your time and energy to really help paintball? Are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for the exponential growth that this sport has in its future?
Whew, it's a loaded question. Yeah, that's a really good one. Because I think there's two different ways you can look at it, right? Like a lot of people look at it as how can I get the most out of paintball as an individual? But then it's like what you said on the other side is how do I grow the foundation of it to like to continue to grow it forward as the whole? So yeah, that's a really good question.
Thank you. You see, kind of being in media, you obviously are places now that some players get to be, um, but you also get to learn behind the scenes of, like, this player is just, they're in it for themselves, or they just like the adrenaline rush of it. There's a bunch of adrenaline junkies. Or you really have people like Tammy Adamson and Todd Adamson. I know Tammy has poured her heart into, having a female team, the Femme Fatales, and
Yeah,
her paintball for purpose is one of the best concepts that's been created this year. And it's it's really heartwarming to see people like those
one hundred
put
percent.
all their effort into making this